All right. So, hello guys. We are going to solve some more ASMO questions. And today we are going to do less grades 5 to 6 for 2020. Since we have basically done most of the questions for grades 3 and 4. All right. So now, question 1. Which of the following here is not the use of vulcanized rubber? So, please pause so that you guys could answer this question. All right. So, hand gloves are basically gloves that are made of rubber, right? Some of them could be made of plastic, some of them could be made out of wool, but most of them will usually be made out of rubber. So D is not true. Car tires have to be made of rubber so that they could actually wait. So, car tires are used car tires in this situation are made from rubber so that they could withstand the heat and that they could withstand all of the troubles during the road. So no, it's not car tires. Now, raincoats, some of them could be made of plastic. So some of them could be made of plastic, although some of them could be also made of rubber. So this is also wrong. PVC pipes instead are plastic. They are made out of plastic. Therefore, the answer should be A, to make PVC pipes. Now, which of the following is produced from fungi? So, as you can see, a rope is definitely not made out of fungi. Now, the reason here is a rope is very synthetic. It's I'm pretty sure a rope is made of many different materials, and um and therefore you can't make a rope out of fungi. Now, now the other instant like obvious option is not a leather product. Why, you may ask? Well, it's simple. Leather is basically another word for cow skin, right? And cow skin are basically really not made of fungi. They are not produced from any form of bacteria. Now, the two more obvious answers, like the more viable answers, would be vinegar and um and soap powder. Now, both of these answers are technically correct. You could make detergent using fungi. You could also make vinegar using fungi. You need bacteria and fungi as well. But to be safe here, I'd rather you guys to answer vinegar since it's usually made by fungi. Now, which of the following color lights is a secondary color? Now, a secondary color is a combination between two primary colors. We know that cyan couldn't be one of these colors because, well, cyan, I'm pretty sure, is a tertiary color, and white is basically all the colors combined. Blue is the primary color here. So we could instantly shorten our answer to C, which is green. Now, which of the following microorganisms could be produced could are be able to produce food using photosynthesis? Oh yeah. Remember guys, please pause the video to think before I answer so that you guys can answer those questions. So, we know wait, sorry. Question 4 here. So, a virus does not need any food for photosynthesis. They rely on the host instead. So you can't so a virus doesn't really require photosynthesis. Now, a photozoa How do a photozoa a, is like a type of it's kind of like a type of very, very small unicellular organisms, which means that they only have one cell. However, they don't really fall under any of the other circumstances. In this case, for example, amoeba or would be an example of protozoa. Sorry, not photozoa, protozoa. I apologize. But yeah, it's not protozoa either because a protozoa would only have one cell, and usually it's either bacteria, amoeba, etc. Now, uh, it's obvious that the answer is algae. You don't even need to know what a mucor or protozoa is to know that it's algae. Algae is basically a form of plant, kind of, that is on it's a microorganism, but it's underwater. So usually if you see a pond of water and it's kind of greenish, that's usually algae. So now, bronze. What is the main metal used in the formation of bronze? Now, first of all, what is the main color of bronze? Can you guys stop the video and answer for a quick second? Well, well, it's brown, right? And now, what metal do we associate with brown all the time? Copper. Exactly. Bronze is an alloy of copper, which means that it contains copper and a couple of other metals. Now, yes, it could just be plain, you could have other metals in it, but the other main metal that's used, another metal that's used is tin. Zinc and iron don't have anything to do with bronze. I'm pretty sure you can use iron in steel, but that's basically the only use of iron that you guys need to know in alloys. So, so now, a physical change is a change that does not change the chemical part of a substance. So it only changes it physically, which means it only changes the state of matter. So as you can see, magnesium ribbon reacting in water, it would cause an explosion. Usually, we tend to associate explosions with chemical changes, and most of the time, it is correct. Many chemical changes will be associated. Many explosions are caused by chemicals mixing together and reacting. Rust is also a really, really obvious chemical change. Now, why is that, you may ask? Well, rusting is basically when iron and oxygen couldn't basically connect with each other, right? So we know that it is not rusting of iron. Now, okay, here's a tip. If you guys want to identify whether something is a physical or a chemical change, you can ask yourself, would you be able to change this back into the original thing? For example, if you were to fry the fish, could you unfry the fish? Of course not. You can't really unfry a fish. The only situation you can't really do that to a fish. That's kind of funny, I guess. But yeah, you can't unfry a fish. So that's false. And also, the fish becomes a new thing. It becomes a completely different thing than what it was before. It is not the same thing. The fish is still a fish, yes, but the state of the fish is what's changed. So make sure to remember that chemical changes they could never really be irreversible. So it has to be the evaporation of water. Now think about this. If you were to boil some water, you may ask your parents to try to boil some water, you would be able to see that, oh my god, the water becomes back to normal. The water comes back to normal when you eventually make the water vapor come back to normal. So if you cool down water vapor, it basically becomes water. So yeah, that's just some basic science for physical and chemical changes. Now, mutations are a really, really weird subject, so I'll give you guys a few seconds So the answer is you could guys stop however long you want. Okay. So mutations. First of all, first of all, there are first of all, look, mutations don't only happen in animals. They also happen in plants. If you think about it, we're mutations, bananas and all the things that you eat to this day are technically mutations of an original plant. So actually, you guys are eating ant mutations. They don't just need to happen in animals. They can happen in plants. They can happen in any single other living organism, even bacteria, even viruses. As long as it has DNA or RNA, you could make a mutation. Now, twins are not mutations. Twins only happen because multiple people have the same parent. When multiple people have the same parents, then when multiple people have the same parent, that means that many sperm have won the race. That's why that's why it's called twins, because more than one sperm that came from the father has officially won the race and becomes a part of the egg. Now, mutations do cause physical changes. One of the main factors of a mutation is that it affects somebody mentally, physically, or in their general health. It affects them in many ways, and this is definitely one of them. Most physical changes are a huge part of mutations. Without them, that would probably be very hard to detect a mutation in the first place. So yeah, now that means mutations are permanent and spontaneous. Yes, mutations are permanent. Unless in the future where we were able to edit somebody's DNA, which I don't think is near at all. You will never, Mutations will be really, really hard to fix. They will never ever be fixed because you can't fix them. That's the main issue. Mutations are really, really hard to overcome by some, especially the ones that cause very dangerous diseases. Now, Sarah has a pair of dimples, while Diana has no dimples. Now, which factor causes this difference in traits for the two girls? All right, so now you might be thinking of what I'm might be thinking like this. Oh, dimples are caused by the environment and genes because the environment does affect the dimple. And yes, that's true to a certain level. However, so now, first of all, let's eliminate the wrong options. But I'll explain why it's not the environment. So, exercise is obviously a wrong answer here. Even if you exercise as much as possible, your dimples will not magically remove. It will not just vanish out of nowhere. It will always stay in your body unless you do some skincare hygiene or something like that. Even then, it's going to be really hard to get one removed. Now, a diet. Well, a diet does affect many things in our life. However, dimples are not one of them. Dimples are not one of the main reasons as to, no, diet's not one of the main reasons as to why we have dimples. Now, I would argue that environmental things are very important to the creation of dimples, and you guys might agree with me. However, dimples are also extremely genetic. They're caused because they're dimples, and they are mutations, not really mutations, but like different cells in your body that have a different form, an extra altered cell. So a dimple gene is probably a dominant gene. So that means if one of your parents have dimples, you might also have dimples. So yeah. Now, a worker works near a radioactive source which emits radioactive radiation. That was fun to say. Which of the following will provide a worker with greatest protection? Now, let's think about this smart. First of all, lead isn't really a good way to protect yourself. Well, now will you? Well, look, lead is extremely. Uh, hmm, how will I explain this question? It is definitely it is definitely a screen, a thick screen that will protect you, but it has to be from the right materials, right? I'll give you guys some time to think about it as so that you guys could make an answer since this question is kind of hard. All right. So now, some of you guys might be thinking, "Oh, that is very dangerous for you," which is what I also thought before I figured out the solution. Now, yes, lead is very dangerous, but only when you consume it. Now, this question has high radioactive radiation. Aluminum is good. Don't get me wrong. However, aluminum is only good when you're trying to protect from a not good source. What I mean by this is when very very weak radiation source. A thick lead screen would protect from very strong radiation. It would actually be better for you even though light is considered as dangerous. Just please do not consume it or do not do anything with it. Now, which of the following structures could be found in both animal and plant cells? Okay, let's eliminate one of the easiest things of our life, kidneys. Kidneys are a part of the human body and other animals. They are not a part of plants, nor are they even, nor basically kidneys are made by a bunch of cells. How would you so how would they catch up with the logic that um yeah, it's just really unreasonable. This question feels very unreasonable. That's the thing. It's now now a cell wall is only in plants. It helps to keep the plant upright and it helps the plant to be a plant. Basically, it helps the plant to have its shape as a plant. That's what the use of the cell wall is. It helps the plant stand up. It helps the plant to move its stuff, and helps the plant to protect itself from intruders. And also, it helps the plant to not shrink when it doesn't have enough water. Now, a chloroplast. Let me give you guys a simple hint. Chloro. Have you ever heard the term chloro before? It's in use in the word chlorophyll. So you can assume that a chloroplast is probably something related to a plant. So it's of course not going to be these two answers either. It's a plasma membrane. Now, let me explain why. A plasma membrane is basically a membrane that protects, if I'm pretty sure, the plasma membrane is the membrane that protects the cell outside. Now, you might think, oh, wait, but also there's obviously the cell wall from the from the plant to protect it, right? Well, yes, we do have the cell wall. That isn't enough though. The cell wall isn't enough. And also it helps things to move faster and slower, and it helps things to move faster and slower, reject and accept foreign chemicals if they believe that they are not good for you, etc. and etc. So yeah, it is extremely useful that way too. Now, when an object is immersed in a liquid, the upthrust that acts on the object is equal to the now. Um now, all right. Here's the thing. According to Newton's third law, every single force, every single action has an exact and opposite, however, opposite version of that force, known as a reaction. This reaction is always going to be equal or and opposite of the original force. Meaning that if I were to punch a ball for some reason, I don't know why, but I felt like punching a ball, then that ball would face these would also have a same similar reaction. However, it will move in the direction that on the opposite direction. Now, similar to this, the upthrust that acts to the object is equal to the mass of the object, not the weight. Wait. Oh wait, sorry. Um, the upthrust should be equal to the mass because the mass is what the object is made out of, how much the object is in. So yeah. Now, which of the following elements is a macronutrient required by plants to synthesize protein? I'll give you guys some time to answer this question. All right, sorry. Have you guys figured it out yet? If so, what is the question? I don't know what is the answer. Apologies. Well, the answer here is nitrogen. Now, let me have really, this is more of a memory question. There isn't really a reason. Magnesium, calcium, and iron are just not important enough in plants. Either they already have them, and nitrogen, the main explanation here that I could probably give is that nitrogen is in the soil, and it means that nitrogen is a really important part of the plants. So yeah, that's really the main thing that I can answer. I don't really have a good explanation for this. It's mainly a memory question. So now, which of the following here is the advantage of synthetic rubber? Now, synthetic rubber is known for a lot of things. It does now. Most of these are not advantages. They are more of disadvantages. Easily oxidizing isn't really an advantage. That just means that that it easily rusts. That means that rubber easily has a that easily rusts, which is not good. If rubber is easy to burn, that's also not a good thing because, well, if something is easy to burn, that just means that it's really, really bad for it's just really, really bad in general because you would have a lot of issues and it will run slower. Now, the only advantage that rubber has, and that is considered one, is it's waterproof. Rubber is very waterproof. You could probably proof it with water. No, you could probably pour a lot of water onto rubber and it will actually work. The rubber will not absorb any of the water at all. You could try this at home. You could try finding like an eraser or something, and you could put it in water, and you would realize that, oh my God, rubber is waterproof. All right. So now question 14. Why is common salt added in the process of making salt? Making soap. Sorry. Can anybody answer this? If you want to answer, please slow down this video by a bit or stop it. Oh yeah, you could also skip this timer. I would like you guys to take some time to know why. All right. So, no, it's not for chemical reactions. And no, and it's not to create an alkaline solution. These two are obviously incorrect. You don't want your soap to be reactive. If your soap is reactive, please seek help because you shouldn't have a soap that explodes every time you bathe. You also don't want to create an alkaline solution. That's not the objective of soap. And no, a soap solution should not be neutralized. You do not want to do it. So instead, it's supposed to be used as precipitant for the soap to precipitate out of the solution. Now, now that we know that we it's all salt is also used to make soap hard. That's probably why soap is hard in the first place. It's very that because of the salt. Now, final question. So we know that carbon and oxygen are very important parts in parts in our life. They are the backbones, right? So it's obviously so we could easily eliminate option D over here, right? All right. So now that we have identified that now now that we have identified that it's made out of carbon and oxygen, we have several options here. Sulfur is used, if I'm pretty sure, in proteins and only in one amino acid. Now, secondly, nitrogen isn't needed. It's not containing fats, right? I'm pretty sure they're both in carbohydrates and proteins, but not in fat. And nor is it a D. So it's C. These are very important parts of our life. Without them, we would probably die. And they are the reason why we're alive. So yeah. Thank you for today's class and hope you guys and see you guys in the next class.